254. Necessary Rules. Chalcedon Report number 115, March 1975. Institutions, as they lose their function and purpose, forfeit also their lives, or at least their necessary role in society. For example, the modern image of a knight or a lord is of a hand-kissing fashion plate and snob. For medieval man, he was a necessary source of law and order and a capable protector. However unjust and arbitrary he might be at times, he was still so valuable that his uses outweighed his faults. Medieval man knew that his lord had a poor life expectancy because of his military and protective function. As late as 1330 to 1479, about 1 in every 2 of English dukes' sons died a violent death, and, as a class, their life expectancy was only 24 years. Only later, when knights and lords lost their necessary function to medieval man and began to work for their self-perpetuation and advancement in relation to the monarch, did they become irrelevant to those who once found them necessary to society. The peers of the realm became intolerable to European man, not because they had become worse in character, because it can be argued that their character commonly improved, but because they became irrelevant, and therefore a burden. The same point can be made with reference to monarchy, and also the Church. For most of European history, the Church was the most necessary institution, and even in some eras of very real corruption, the Church was not only tolerated, but its reform urgently sought on all sides. As the institution most basic to the structuring and development of society, life without the Church was to most men unthinkable. Thus, even as they damned the evils in the Church, they sought with intensity its reform and renewal. However, where the Church made itself irrelevant, men gradually bypassed it, and from a necessary institution, the Church became an optional one. Once as necessary as daily bread, it became a luxury or an extra item for those with a taste for it. Then and now, the Church has done this to itself. In the medieval era, the concern of the Church for self-perpetuation, the development of naturalistic theologies and philosophies, and the growth of mysticism and pietism made the Church progressively an irrelevant luxury. The Reformation and Counter-Reformation for a time restored relevancy, but the same old tendencies soon rendered the Church irrelevant, an optional rather than a necessary institution. In the modern era, the state and the state school have been the necessary institutions, and man's hopes have been closely tied to the state and the state school. The same irrelevance, however, is again setting in. The state school in Europe is mainly geared to preparation for civil service. In the United States, to the democratic life. In either case, it is less and less relevant to man's basic problems and needs. As a result, in the United States especially, statist education is dying, and independent Christian schools are growing very rapidly. Indicative of the irrelevance of the state is the fact that, in the United States, as much money is spent for private policing and protective devices as for statist policing. The state has so hampered its police that one of the most basic functions of the state, protection from criminals, is passing into private hands. Similarly, courts are increasingly geared to adjudicating equality rather than justice, and, as a result, the very central function of justice is less and less expected from the state. As a result, both the right and the left are agreed that the state, as it exists, the establishment, is the enemy. Both seek to capture the state and reform it, but, increasingly, most people expect less and less good from the state in any hands, and more evil and corruption. The modern humanistic state, once religiously revered, is increasingly distrusted and feared. While the final break is not yet here, and the modern state is not yet regarded as irrelevant, there is a tendency in that direction. Associations, contracts, business arrangements, and prices are set with an eye to avoiding statist controls and intervention. Instead of utilizing the state, a growing segment of the population work to avoid the state, a most telling indicator of approaching irrelevance. Add to this the fact that, in the United States and elsewhere, recent elections saw a remarkably low percentage of people voting, and a trend towards irrelevance becomes clear. The state was once universally regarded as a necessary good. Now it is seen by its very defenders as simply a necessary evil. The modern humanistic idea of the state is thus in transition to irrelevance. This means, of course, very dangerous and trying years ahead. It means major dislocations and upheavals in what is already the most bloody and revolutionary of centuries. But it also means a time of opportunity without equal to present the whole counsel of God and His law as the only tenable basis for men and nations. There is no other alternative to tyranny and anarchy. Humanistic man's order is coming to its necessary conclusion. Unless the Lord's people set forth His answers, the enemy will provide his alternative,